What is this? What is this? This looks like.
It looks like the game Fallout.
Oh, that's right.
But we made it to Josh Allen. We call it Ball Out.
Nice. It's a big mug.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a 20-ouncer.
I'd eat cereal out of that.
You probably could.
Yeah.
You probably could.
All right, so I'm here with Reid, and we're at 26 Shirts right at your warehouse on Kenmore Avenue. And the whole point of what we're doing here is just to get to know you. Get to know your story of the brand, your staff, how do you end up in this location, whatever you want to share.
Sure, yeah.
It's kind of up to you because it's your story, obviously.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming out and talking to me.
Totally.
Yeah. So where do you want to start? What do you want to know?
Well, how about just a little bit about yourself? You know, did you grow up in Buffalo?
Yeah. So,
all that.
Yeah, I grew up in Tonawanda, moved all the way to Kenmore, which is a North Towns joke. Some people get it. You know?
Right.
But yeah.
What part of Tonawanda were you in?
I was 3 blocks behind Ted's Hot Dogs.
Okay, so you're on the north side of Sheridan.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
I'm familiar with Tonawanda because I grew up there too.
Oh, yeah?
I went to Kenmore East and Ben Franklin. And
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
When did you graduate from East?
2004.
Awesome. I'm old. All right, cool. I'm 93, Kenmore West.
That makes me feel good because a lot of times I talk to people and they say, "Oh, I graduated in 2019." I'm like, okay.
Just wait. You're going to get more and more of those as time goes on.
I know. It's weird when you go to the doctor or something and your doctor is younger than you. I'm
Yep.
starting to get to that point.
Yep. I'm there for sure. Well, if he's not younger than me, then he looks great. But
Right.
Yeah, so I grew up in Tonawanda, married a Kenmore girl. I always joke I got her as far out of Kenmore as I was going to get her, and we live in Kenmore.
Nice.
But I love it. I absolutely love Kenmore. I wouldn't change it for anything.
Yeah, me too.
I love the walkability. I love just the businesses right there. I love always having, whether it's gas or milk or whatever kind of groceries you need, like 2 blocks away, just walking distance. But
Yeah. I've been over the years trying to get as many of my services, doctors, dentists, all that, to be in Kenmore. I still drive out to Amherst for some things, but slowly but surely I'm chipping away at it.
Yeah, it's nice because I have a friend. He lives in East Aurora. He worked at Fisher Price for years, and I remember him telling me once. He said, "You don't understand. I don't leave East Aurora."
Right? Yeah.
I always thought that was kind of funny. So I'm kind of like a microcosm of that when it comes to Kenmore.
Nice. All right, so you grew up in the area. We went to the same high school.
I graduated from West. I went to East for 2 years, and then I went to West for 2 years. So
Right,
obviously, that's important.
It depends on what side of the tracks you're on, I think, right?
It does, but at least when I was in high school, they had open enrollment in the Kenton district, so you could actually petition to go to a different school.
Oh, nice.
And I went to Hoover because I was in that weird spot where a lot of my friends went to when I went to Edison.
Okay.
Most of them went to Franklin. I went to Hoover. Made a bunch of friends at Hoover during my middle school, like semi-formative years. And then when it was time to go to high school, it was to Kenmore East, back with all the Franklin kids, all my Hoover friends. Went to Kenmore West. Obviously, still, Franklin kids. They're good friends still to this day. I mean, my best man was one of them. But yeah, I went to Kenmore West, graduated in 93. Actually, proud to say that this past May, I was inducted into their Corridor of Honor, which is really cool. So I'm literally right next to Mr. Felges, who, if you went to Kenmore West, when I went there, he was like the teacher. He was the coolest teacher, best teacher, great man. So my picture is right next to his, which is really awesome.
And that's because of 26 Shirts?
Yeah, community involvement and stuff, 26 Shirts and the Bills Mafia fundraising and stuff that I've done.
Right. I know you've done a lot, like not only 26 Shirts, but I've seen you around. You were the Bills Fan of the Year at one point.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. This past year, they're probably going to announce it in the next week or so, whoever this year's Fan of the Year is. But I was the 2023 Buffalo Bills Fan of the Year. I got to go to the Super Bowl. It was very cool.
Sweet. What did that, like, how did you get nominated for that? How did you get chosen for that?
Yeah, so people can nominate like whomever they think should be the Fan of the Year, often themselves or
Yeah.
But once my wife found out that this was a thing that they actually did, like this Fan of the Year thing, she said, "I'm going to nominate you." And I was like, "Please don't." Like this, I don't like, for as much as attention as I've been blessed with. I've always tried to use it like productively, for good purposes and everything. But I try not to seek it out. Like it kind of finds me. But I told her, I said, "Please don't." She's like, "Oh no, this is happening. We're doing this." And she started like her own little social media campaign where she was she basically doxed me and said, "Here's his name, here's his birth date." He's yes, all the questions they had on the form.
Right.
And she was hitting up like just people in the media we know, former Bills players, like just general fans. She was hitting up everybody saying, "Hey, can you please post about this for Dell?" And so when they told me that I was the fan of the year, she said it was almost unanimous. So
oh my God,
it's really weird. It's really weird.
Awesome.
Huge honor, obviously,
Yeah.
and I don't say that bragging. That's what she said. And so, but I try not to make a big deal out of it or whatever. But it was cool. It was awesome. We got to go to the Super Bowl. When they told me that I was the fan of the year, I immediately thought, this is destiny. The Bills are going to the Super Bowl.
Right. That would have been amazing.
Yeah, right. And then they lost a bunch of games. And then I was like, oh, they're probably not going to the Super Bowl. And then they ran off a bunch of wins, and they, made it to the divisional round against the Chiefs at home, finally.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is destiny. I'm going to get to see them in the Super Bowl, And then obviously we all know what happened. But
right. I know.
But
it's I don't want to say abusive relationship, but it's like you always like feel like there's hope, and then, But every year, my son is actually more into football than I am. He knows all the players, he knows the other teams, and I really only watch the Bills games itself. Right. But he asked me, who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl? And I always say, the Bills, obviously. Why even ask?
Yeah, right. Especially nowadays, the past 4 or 5 years, it's a completely valid response.
Yeah.
With as good as they've been.
Right.
But it was an awesome experience going to the Super Bowl. The game almost was like an afterthought. But, they flew us out there. So every team has like their fan of the year, and then there's an overall NFL fan of the year out of those 32 teams. And so they took us to the NFL honors, which is like the Oscars for football.
Very cool.
Got to walk on the red carpet, saw a bunch of people, famous people, former players. I was like this close to Barry Sanders. It was really cool.
Nice. So what about 26 shirts? So
yeah.
How did you get into this? I know that you have a pretty decent following. I know that you do a lot of good stuff for the community and for Buffalo as a whole. I'd love for you to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So as Bills Mafia took off, having started that with Bree and Leslie, and we had this big social media following growing.
Wait, so I'm sorry to cut you off, but you were a part of founding the Bills Mafia, like as a name, as a group?
Yeah, I actually coined the term Bills Mafia back in 2011.
Oh my gosh. My dad always says, I was Bills Mafia before there was Bills Mafia.
I'll tell your dad I gave him a high five or a shot.
Yeah, I will.
It's cool.
I will.
So I had a big social media audience. And about 2 years into that, 2013, after having people reach out to me all the time, like, hey, can you share this fundraiser? Or can you, tweet about this? Or, can you donate to here? I started to think more and more, like, there's got to be more that I can do with this, with this this platform that, God's kind of dropped into my lap. Mm-hmm. And I had this idea to sell a different shirt every 2 weeks for a year. 52 divided by 2 is 26. That's where the name comes from. Okay. Although nowadays we do like 2-3 shirts a week. So the name means, and we do more of the shirts, so it kind of means nothing. But
it's the origin story, which is kind of cool.
It's the origin. It's the branding. We're not going to get rid of it now. It's not such name recognition, but it is the origin story. So, so it was going to be a 1-year project. I teamed up with a local T-shirt company to do it. I was working at Roswell Park at the time.
Do you mind mentioning the T-shirt company?
Yeah, You and Who. Was the name of it.
They're local?
You're here.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, so Dan Giganti reached out to me when I kind of like announced this idea I had on social media. Dan, it was like a boutique shirt company. He owned another company, 19 Ideas, local marketing firm.
Okay.
But this was a give back minded shirt company that he had started.
Okay.
And so when I announced what I wanted to do with this 26 Shirts project, it fell completely in line with what he wanted his business to be, or what his business was.
Cool.
So he reached out, and we worked it out so that You and Who would basically print the shirts, handle the transactions, handle the donations, like all that. And my role was basically identifying the families, working with the artists, determining what shirts could be the next campaign, all that end of things. Really just a labor of love. I wasn't like doing it to make any money. I wasn't making any money, and I was really just spending the time on it because I just really loved doing it.
Right.
First year was so successful, it ended up being a first year. So we did a second year. During that second year, I actually got laid off from my job at Roswell. And I was given the opportunity to post for another position because it was a union job. So, you have the opportunity to post and everything.
All right.
But I told my wife that I really feel like this shirt thing is what I'm supposed to be doing. And, Dan was awesome. He said, don't post for that job or anything. He said, I want to bring you on as 50% owner, with sweat equity. Let's just get in here, join me. Let's do this. So
it's just the power of relationships.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and Dan played a huge role in all of that, obviously. Mm-hmm. And so we had an agreement that I would work on it full time, and then he would continue to work on his business, but he'd come in once, one morning a week, and we'd kind of talk about strategize and everything. And obviously we're talking and emailing and Slack, if people are familiar with that, that all week long. But it just, the idea was, okay, let's give it a year. So when I got laid off from my job, my severance was 1 year's health insurance. So we had 2 young daughters, at the time. They would have been 12 and 9. So having health insurance is kind of like gold, because the money thing, we'll figure out the money thing, but as long as, God forbid, something happens to the kids or something gets sick, that's covered.
Right.
So we thought we'd give it a year, and if it wasn't working out a year, I'd go back to being a web developer somewhere, you know?
Yeah.
Well, within 6 months, we had to hire somebody because it turns out this just needed somebody spending full-time attention on it. Had to hire somebody. And then a year and a half after that, I had to hire another person, and then another person, and now we have, 5 full-time employees plus myself.
Wow.
I bought out.
Good for you.
Yeah. Dan and I parted ways at the end of 2021. Amicably,
Mm-hmm.
but he's focusing on 19 ideas. I'm focusing on 26 shirts. So I bought him out. So now, I run it solely. So we changed the name from You and Who Incorporated to now it is just 26 Shirts Incorporated.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's.
And how long have you been in this location, in this warehouse?
We've been here since March of 23. Okay. So we were in the Tri-Main Center for our entire existence before then, on the corner of Main and Jewett. Awesome. Situation there. Matt is awesome, who runs it. We kind of outgrew what they were able to provide us, and which is fine. I mean, the very fact here that behind you is a garage door. We don't have to load into a dock and then take it huge. Up, 2 floors and everything. So, so we love that. We love that. So,
who's actually printing the shirts that you're creating now?
We have an excellent relationship with a company called Positive Approach.
Okay.
Joe Peeler. Joe was just in here yesterday. We try to meet regularly, although sometimes life gets busy and we realize it's been 9 and 10 months since we last met.
Right.
But they're more of a strategic partner than they are even like a vendor that we use to print the shirts.
Okay.
Joe completely understands our mission, and he will work with us in whatever we need to get something done because he knows our goal is to support families. I always joke that we're not a T-shirt company, we're a fundraising company. We're just kind of masquerading as a T-shirt company.
Sure.
Because our goal is to tap into the love and excitement that people have for this region, for its football teams, and give them something that they can wear and represent that love, but at the same time giving back to that same community. So you get to represent the community in a way that gives back to the community. And even though we have artists on staff, we still try to bring in freelance artists now and then so that the community can play a role in supporting the community. So
I think I saw a Buffalo logo on one of your shirts or on the back of a jersey or something like that. Do you work with them at all too?
Haven't worked with them much. No,
keep talking.
Yeah, that jersey you're talking about is they did the Micah Hyde softball tournament a couple years ago, and then we were asked to do that this past year. So some of the inventory that we have is belongs to the Micah Hyde tournament, so we're just kind of selling it for them.
Oh, okay, Gotcha.
But no, we haven't worked directly with Buffalo yet. Erik's been in the office, we've chatted, we know each other. Great guy. Just that opportunity hasn't just presented itself yet.
Yeah, I was just over at their warehouse too, interviewing Erik.
Yeah.
So it's just a cool connection to see their logo on something in the warehouse over here.
And he's a Kenton guy too. I think his
Yeah.
kids go to Lindbergh or something.
Actually, his kid goes to Hoover. With my kid.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's so many connections. We talked about that a little bit before. in Buffalo, there's obviously a lot of pride. There's, a lot of people who live here have lived here their whole life. A lot of times they move away, they come back because their family is here and all that.
Yep.
And of course, the Bills, we all kind of circle around them, and there's some camaraderie there. Actually, I wasn't always I was always a Bills fan by default because I grew up in the area. And just a few years ago, my wife was invited to go to a game with someone who was, I think, dating one of the equipment managers at the time.
Yeah.
But she went. She came back with some swag that they were given, and she was just like diehard from that point on. And it wasn't because she loves football. It was because it was the first time that she was in a stadium of that size with so many people that had love for Buffalo and love for our team. And it was almost like an emotional experience for her.
Yeah,
to
I'm
see that many
sure.
people.
And that's one of the things about the Bills, the Sabres, maybe sports fandom in general.
Yeah.
But the Bills and Sabres especially, I always mention how they have a buffalo on the side of the football helmet, and they have a buffalo on the crest of the hockey jersey. Like they are visually tied to the identity of the community.
Yeah.
It's not the Las Vegas Raiders, where the term Raider means nothing to Las Vegas, or even, you can name any number of teams that, like, the name has really nothing to do. Are there Vikings in Minnesota? I don't know, maybe.
Are there buffalo in Buffalo?
Fair enough. Well, there's
At the zoo?
I guess if you call it the name of the city,
No,
Buffalo,
I got
you can
you.
call it. But you're right.
Totally.
You're right. So yeah, I guess if it was Vikings, that'd be fine.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. No,
But-
I follow.
Yeah. So so just the fact that it's the visual identity of the name of the city in the logo. There's that intrinsic regional pride that gets kind of wrapped up in your sports fandom.
Yeah. One of my favorite things is if you go down to Florida, because that's a huge destination for people who are retiring from Buffalo, or just, in the winter, we need to get away for a week or so just to experience some warm weather in those like 5 months of winter that we have. I was in Florida, and you see a lot of Bills fans in like February. And we were at this resort a couple of years ago, and you would just hear somebody go, "Hey!" Somebody actually in the morning went out on the beach and drew a huge like lettering that said "Go Bills" across the beach. It was just awesome.
In February?
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. It is, that's great. And I always joke about how, the 80s and 90s and into the 2000s especially, everybody would graduate high school or college and move. Well, not everybody, because I'm here, but like people would often do that. So you have these Buffalo expats all over the country.
Yeah.
And they take their Bills fandom with them.
Totally.
So that's why you can go to Eddy City and there's a Bills backers bar.
Yep.
And I don't know,
Exactly.
maybe I'm just not paying attention, but I don't think here in Buffalo we've got backers bars for every different
Not
football
that I
team.
know of.
you
Not
know?
that I would go there.
Yeah,
but-
because a lot of them are just restaurants that
Yeah,
even when you're out of town, you go there and there's Bill stuff on the wall, and you're like,
Yeah.
what?
Mhm.
But I don't see that here in Buffalo, so maybe
Yeah.
that's because Buffalo's just not having it, and maybe those
They probably wouldn't last very long.
yeah, maybe those teams' fans have baggers bars in every other city, but
They just privately meet because they don't want to,
yeah,
have the publicity.
shamefully hang out in their basement, watch a game.
So you talked about how this is more of a fundraising effort than it is even a t-shirt shop. What are some of the causes, organizations, families, like who are you supporting with the sales of these shirts?
Yeah, so every Monday we're launching a new shirt. So it's kind of 52 shirts now, but like I said, we do special editions during the week. So it's But every Monday we launch a new 2-week campaign to support a different local family. So it's often someone who is dealing with an unforeseen medical emergency. Their child has pediatric cancer, or sometimes like somebody lost their home in a house fire. Basically, we are meeting people the worst time of their lives, and so it's very sobering when you think about our why. And so we try to remain constantly aware of why we're doing what we're doing. We have a lot of fun. Designing these shirts and wearing these shirts and working with other local companies or celebrities or whatever to promote the shirts. but at the end of the day, that fun is it's necessary because it balances out, the heartache.
Yeah.
I mean, several times a week, I'm having a conversation with a different family who's, again, going through the worst time of their lives. And we need to have the fun we have doing this, because if you just focus on week after week after week of just, these situations, it'll wear you down.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a smart way to do it too. Like in Buffalo, we want Buffalo themed clothing and all that. And so for the person who's buying something from 26 Shirts, not only do they get to wear the thing, but there's a story behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also, just that good feeling of knowing that you're making a difference.
Yeah. And our customers are making a difference. We've raised over $2 million to date now.
Wow.
That we've been able to donate back to families and organizations and the like in the community.
Wow. How do people get connected to you? How do you find out these stories? How do you meet these people?
The families that we help?
Yeah.
So usually it's an email. They'll email me and just explain the situation, and I'll have a phone call with them, make sure it's a good fit for what we do. And if it is, then I'll put them on our list. And excuse me, right now it's very frustrating. We have about a 9 or 10 month wait list.
I was just gonna say, you have somebody who's in need right now, but you have shirts that you're creating now.
So we do it. I mean, and the way we prioritize it, kind of like first come first serve, but also like the priority of need. Yeah. Like if I'm talking to somebody and like, hey, my brother's got stage 4 cancer and it's pretty well progressed and he doesn't have a lot of time, I will get them into the mix sooner than later.
That's got to be pretty hard to make those decisions about how to prioritize.
Yeah, it's frustrating, especially when you see a name on the list that's been there for a while and you're like, I want to get to them, you know?
Yeah.
But there's, all these other people who I also want to get to.
Yeah.
And we got, I got frustrated in 2020. I remember thinking, like, we can only help 26 families a year. We can only help a shirt every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So that's when we started doing every other week, and they overlap each other.
Okay.
At that time, our wait list was like 4 months. So now we're helping twice as many people, and the list is over twice as long.
Wow.
I guess it's a testament to like how our brand has grown and like how well known we're becoming.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, that's all well and good, but at the same time, I want to help these families. So it's just constantly trying to find ways to do that. And we're always looking for new ways to raise money for the families that we're helping. We just launched a couple months ago what we call the Vault. So we've been doing this for 11 years, almost next week. And every design that we've done has been like, you can only get it for this 2-week period, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
And we'll bring stuff back now and then, but realized over the summer, like, we have almost 11 years worth of designs just sitting on a hard drive that people want. Like, at this point now, I feel like our brand has grown to the point where I don't want to say shtick, because that's not what it is, but we've outgrown that model of 2 weeks and then it's gone. Because now people was like, oh, I want a Buffalo shirt. Oh, I've heard of 26 Shirts. Maybe I'll go there. And then there's only 2 or 3 that are being offered, aside from the few others that we would have regularly. And so now what we've done is we've begun to embrace on demand, and people can order those shirts anytime. And those are drop shipped right to the customer. And all that to say, that new line, the Vault, we're able to take a percentage of those sales and give that to the existing family that we're helping. So I'm constantly trying to find more revenue streams to help these families, because sometimes we'll do a shirt and it'll sell 1,000 or a couple thousand, and then sometimes we'll do one and it has a hard time hitting 50 shirts. And it sucks. And I explain it all to every family, and they're all very gracious. And, they say, oh, well, every little bit counts. It's like, well, yeah, I know, but I want to like make a dent in your bills. I don't want to just give you like a high five and say, good luck with all that.
Yeah, here's a couple $100 or whatever.
Right,
yeah.
right. So it's just constantly trying to find more ways to raise money for these families, because it's just, you want to make as much of a difference as you can,
Yeah.
And it's tricky, like our margins aren't great. Every consultant I've worked with has said you give too much.
But then that's your whole point.
That's the whole point.
That's a delicate balance too.
Right. And so we're constantly working on somewhat of a shoestring budget. So we're a pretty well-known brand, and we look great on social media, and we look great when you come in here.
Yeah.
But like, we're not New Era, or you can name any other business, because a lot of the money that significant majority of the money that we're bringing in, we're sending out.
Right.
So in a lot of ways, it's kind of like we're not a nonprofit. Although that was my original idea, but my lawyer at the time said, you can't do that much retail and be a nonprofit. It'll be headaches all the time.
Okay.
I've had other people tell me different things since, but that's what the advice I got in 2013. So we're not a nonprofit, but it feels like we're a nonprofit because we're always like trying to like find another revenue stream or find another sponsor or just so that we can, it's a little bit easier to do this.
Yeah. Well, there's plenty of people who get into the apparel business, or there's tons of local businesses that kind of like piggyback on the pride and the love for the Bills. So many different companies that create Bills themed stuff, and it's awesome. I mean, I love it. But you are doing something that there's heart, there's purpose, there's like intentionality behind it. And in my own experience in my career, the different things I've done, there's been a lot of times where I've been in a situation where I'm not making a lot of money, but the thing I'm doing is worth getting up every morning. It's worth making that difference. And I see that that's what you're doing too.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's the entire, you just summed it all up. You know, like I always joke, or not joke, but I always say, like, we're not building an empire here. We're not trying to squeeze every penny we can so that, I can drive a nicer car or I can have a bigger house in Kenmore. my little 1,400 square foot home on a postage stamp property, which is fine. Like, I'm not complaining about it, but like, I'm not trying to, like I said, build an empire. And as we grow, as we've had opportunities for growth, I've had the chance to create jobs, so we have 5 full-time employees, and I like to think this is the most fun, the most purpose they've ever had in their career, working here.
I could see that.
So we that's a blessing in itself, is to create jobs, and as we grow, it's not how much more can I maximize for profit. It's how much can I take and put it back into the business and create a job for somebody.
So every person that reaches out to you, they're in need. They're at, like you said, one of the lowest points of their life. Is there an understanding that their situation will be publicized? That do you share every story of every person in need? Have you ever had pushback on that?
No, probably because anybody who's reached out to us has seen what we're doing.
They know.
And I want it so when someone buys a shirt, who you're helping.
Yes.
I try to be, with everything in this business, I try to be as transparent as possible.
Yeah.
So it's not like, a portion of proceeds, or like, we're very specific in terms of like how much will be given, and where your money's going, what you're supporting. So yeah, there's never been pushback. So, but I'll have often someone reach out to me and say, hey, this is for my coworker, or this is for my cousin, and I'll always say, like, I just want to make sure that they're aware that you're reaching out, or that we're going to do this, because the last thing I want is for them to log onto the website or go on Facebook and see an ad for a shirt and it says supports Joe Smith, and Joe Smith is looking at the screen going, that's me.
Yeah.
I don't want that, because it also, I'm sure there's like legal ramifications to that as well.
Yeah.
And if there isn't, there probably should be. So we're very, I try to make sure that everybody's on the same page. And I always say, hey, reach out to them, make sure that they're okay. Please have them email me or call me or contact me so that I know that they're not going to be surprised, by us pushing this. And then if they want me to work with you, great. If they want to work with me directly, that's fine. Or if they want me to work with somebody else, we'll work with whomever they want us to be that point of contact.
Yeah. So it's probably moments like these where you're sharing your story, and I'm sure you do it a lot, but you kind of sometimes in the grind of just doing the thing day after day, week after week, it's, how do I want to say, it's kind of to share your story like this is a reminder of how far you've come and how much you've grown. not, I don't want to say you, because I know that.
Yeah, but 26
you're doing
shirts.
it. Yes.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I never lose perspective. In fact, I'm often thinking, holy crap, we're doing this. You know what I mean? Like this
Yeah.
morning, I'm laying in bed thinking about, what was going on today and just, what was on my schedule or whatever. And just thinking, I can't believe that we're doing this. You know what I mean? I can't believe that this is still a thing that's happening. It really blows my mind. I really thought that I was going to work in a cube or an office for 30 years, retire, probably move to Florida or vacation in Florida and get old and whatever. But this was not part of the plan. I'm glad that his life has taken this turn. And it's a huge blessing, and I don't take it for granted that I get to do this every day. Some days are better than others. Some days, sometimes you have a bunch of days in a row where it's just a drag or just owning a business, because there's all these things that I didn't even know I was ever going to have to know or figure out.
Yeah.
When it comes to owning a business, like that's the worst part. I'm so thankful that I have a bookkeeper who takes care of that stuff and manages a lot of our accounts and everything, because I just want to make sure it's to help people. So I just want to make sure it's to help people.
Yeah.
So, but you have to do a lot of other things to make that happen.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. If you were just on social media seeing 26 shirts, it looks a certain way, but behind the scenes, there's so much more work, blood, sweat, and tears that go into something like this. What about, what's your vision for the future for this? What are some things that you're maybe excited about coming up soon?
This past July, we put on our first real event, Mafia Con.
Okay.
So it was a celebration of all things Buffalo football fandom. It was great. We worked with TSE.
What is TSE?
They're a local memorabilia company.
Okay.
So we had Keon Coleman, Cole Bishop, Terrell Bernard, who's now a captain for the team. Dwayne Carter. They all came out and they did a signing event and everything. It was super cool. And we had all these local vendors and exhibitors, sharing what they're doing in the fandom space for Buffalo football. We had a courtyard set up with some food trucks, and that was all made to benefit Western New York Heroes and Punt Pediatric Cancer Collaborative.
Nice.
So I would think maybe more of that. But having just hit 2 million, the number one goal is 3 million. So we want to keep doing what we're doing. We want to keep moving forward. It took us 7 years to hit 1 million. It took us about 4 years to do 2 million. So 3.5 years to do 2 million. So hopefully we can get to 3 million and that much faster.
18 months or so.
I mean, we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah,
That's gonna be the case. But yeah, it's just continuing to do what we do, trying new things like Mafia Con, like I just mentioned.
Yeah. Which is another stream of income. You're always trying to think of more ways to get more money through the door so you can have more money going out.
Yeah, right. And it was great because we were able to write a check to Western New York Heroes and to Punt for that, and people had a great time.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. Hey, what's up?
This is one from Bob today.
All right.
Take care.
No problem.
Let's see. I'm trying to think what else. Is there something we're missing here?
We went through like the origin story.
Yeah.
What's next? What's going on right now. Yeah, I think we covered a lot of bases.
Yeah. Do you ever hope to print in-house?
We thought about that. So in 2020, during the pandemic, the previous shirt printer that we used was closing up shop, and we had the opportunity to buy their equipment.
Yeah.
And we thought about it long and hard, and that's when we realized we are in the fundraising business.
Yeah.
That's our lane. So let's stay in our lane. Maybe someday in the future, maybe, but we have a great relationship with Positive Approach. I'm in no hurry to sunset that. I love working with Joe.
Yeah, and I would never. I don't have any advice for you, obviously, because I'm not doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
But I have heard other apparel brands, T-shirt makers, who started off, subcontracting that work, and then realizing that printing their own actually increase profit margins and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
and it probably would.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I feel like we're in a good groove right now.
Yeah.
And part of the conversation that we had in 2020 was, well, do I want to be at a family party or something and then have to leave because the printing press went down and I got to fix that? Like,
there's definitely value in not having to worry about that.
right. And honestly, screen printing is an art.
It
you know,
is,
and
yeah.
Joe will tell you that. I'm sure Eric from Buffalo, he'll tell you that. It's an art.
I did a little bit myself, not for my own business, but I worked on a t-shirt press for a little while.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a skill set unto itself.
Yeah.
And so we'll let the experts handle that end of things. We still handle the design or curation, working with the families, fulfillment. It's literally just the shirt part that we don't do, which is ironic being 26 shirts, but
yeah. No, that's good. If you have a good partnership and there's trust there, and I think you mentioned that you share a lot of the same vision. They're on board with what you're doing, and if it's not broke, why fix it?
Exactly.
You have other things that you could be worrying about, like more events and publicity for the brand, so that you can give even more.
Yeah, that's a great point. So
yeah,
we'll see. We'd like to get into more spaces as well too. Like we've started to do a little bit of wholesale, retail activity. So our brand is getting out to people, like in the malls. Like we work with T-shirt University, and we do some consignment stuff with like Buffalo Gift Emporium and Buffalo Apparel and Basics. So that's all well and good, but that's more marketing at the end of the day. Like wholesale is more marketing than it is actual like profitability, at least from what I've experienced so far.
Okay.
Because your margins are so thin, but you're getting the name, you're getting the product in front of people, and then maybe they'll look at it like, oh, I wonder if there's more where that came from, and they'll go to our website.
Yeah. Yeah. So how about that? How about you share your website? Where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, we're at 26shirts.com and at 26shirts on all the platforms. So pretty easy to find us there. And I'm on Twitter. I'm at Del Reid. Instagram at Del Reid 26. But that's if you want hot takes about the Bills and, but if you want to hear about the shirts and everything, I mean, I talk about it up there too, but just go over to our company account.
Yeah. Well, I mean, thank you for not only having me here and taking time out of your day to share your story with me. Thank you for the work that you're doing in the community, for the families that you've helped. I'm sure that it just speaks volumes to who you are as a person, and you've gathered a team around you that has bought into that same vision, into that same purpose. Yeah. And I wish you all the best success in the future. I hope you hit that 3 million mark soon, and that you're able to adjust and pivot to handle that much more, Yeah,
no, thank you. It was a great conversation, and
totally.
I'm very blessed to have the team that I have. And I always say we get a lot of credit for other people's generosity, because we can put all the designs we want out on the internet, but if people don't like the shirts, if they don't believe in our mission, then nothing happens. So this really is a celebration of all things Western New York coming together, supporting itself in the process.
Yeah, I mean, if you had a website that said, hey, donate, you'd probably be able to raise some decent funds, because Buffalonians are a generous bunch. We're the city of good neighbors for a reason. But without a platform like the Buffalo-themed apparel, you probably wouldn't be able to raise as much as you are. And so it's just such a cool way. Like, you've created a way for Buffalonians to show their generosity and to share the story of, the good that you're doing. So much appreciated.
Yeah, well, we have fun doing it.
Yeah, so it sounds like it.
There's nothing better than when you have a campaign close and you message the family and you say, hey, we raised X amount of dollars, and you'll get the check in the next week or whatever. And when they reply back, they say, oh my gosh, this is going to pay for X.
Yeah.
Or now we can do this,
Makes it all worth it.
It's like the best feeling in the world. It's the best feeling in the world to know that you're actually making a difference through your corny T-shirt designs.
Yeah. I haven't seen a corny one yet, but thanks again.
Yeah, no, thank you.
That's it.
Awesome. So next steps, you want to just walk around and get B-roll or something? Or
yep.
what?
And I